Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and I am knitting, not right now, but most of the time. So here's the deal. I have been knitting a lot recently, as you know, but it's not necessarily on my whips. I mean, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. If you're not familiar with knitting or crochet or sewing or makers terminology, WIP is W-I-P, and it's an acronym that stands for work in progress. So I have a lot of works in progress or WIPs that have kind of been neglected, if I'm being completely honest with you. And I have a huge basket of them. Normally this lives in the corner of our living room, and I brought it in here to my office / craft room to kind of take you through a WIP assessment. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. I'm going to be taking you through my pile of WIPs, and I'm more using this as an accountability video because I need to be realistic about my WIPs. They're overwhelming me, and like I talked about in my last video, if it's not fun, it's not worth it. And some of these WIPs are no longer fun for me. They're weighing on my heart and my mental health. So I'm going to commit to either finish these WIPs or frog these WIPs. And again, if you're not familiar with maker terminology, frog is a verb that we use to say rip it out, because you rip it, okay? Get it? Rip it. So to frog is basically to rip out your progress. So I'm going to decide with you today if I am going to commit to finish a WIP or ultimately frog the WIP and use that yarn for something else, or maybe offload the yarn and not keep it around anyway. So let's go ahead and get started. The first WIP that I have is on top of the pile, and it's just a mess, and it's completely my fault that it's a mess. This is the Florencia tee by Claudia Quintanilla of Knit Co. Toronto. And I was participating with them in the Florencia tee knit along that ran from mid-July to the end of August. So it just ended. I was not able to complete my Florencia tee, but I plan to. And in fact, I think that this WIP is going to be a combination of the two options I have for these WIPs, which is I'm going to frog it and I'm also going to finish it. So I don't know what it is. I've talked about this on this channel before, but our knits kind of absorb, I don't know, the atmosphere that we knit them in. I personally tie a lot of memories and feelings to my WIPs. And when I was working on this during the knit along period, this was kind of the project that, I don't know, soaked up a lot of my, I don't know, sadness, turmoil, discomfort. So I kind of want to start fresh with this. I also think that my negative feelings when I was knitting this, and this has nothing to do with the pattern or the yarn or anything, it was just mitigating circumstances in my life beyond my knitting, but yeah, I think that I messed up the pattern, and the repeats are kind of off on my estimation. So I do think I'm going to frog this, reset the yarn, and start over. I really want to start fresh. I love this pattern. It's really meditative to knit. I think that the final product in the photos that I've seen is really beautiful, and I want one for myself. So this is kind of an outlier. Well, I don't know, maybe, we'll see. But as the first one, this is going to be frogged and then finished. So this will probably be an early 2024 knit, I'm guessing, because I'll be ready to tackle spring and summer knits at that time, whereas the rest of 2023 I'm kind of focusing on winter and cold weather knits. So yeah, that is my first WIP that I'm going to frog. I'll probably frog it today, and then that will bring my WIP count down. But yes, so far I have one WIP, and it will be frogged before I revisit it in a few months' time. The second whip on the top of my pile is my Lanark. And I am not frogging this baby. It is too beautiful and too awesome for that. So this project is really bringing me a lot of joy right now. So I'm just gonna keep going. Plus, as I mentioned in my September knitting goals video, this almost went up my nose. Anyway, I'm hoping that this can be done for my Ireland trip. Again, like I've said, if it's not done, no sweat. I'm not going to beat myself up about it, but I am focusing very closely on my Lanark knit during the month of September. So this is knit up in the Merino DK base from Cesium Yarn. It's 100% superwash merino. It's super soft and cushy. And I'm knitting the Lanark sweater by Rebecca Clow of the Crea. And this is a half brioche / half fisherman's rib. They're different stitches, but ultimately they make a very similar fabric. But it's a pullover with a zip down the front, like a 3/4 zip. So I should say quarter zip. Yeah, because it goes from like your collar to your mid chest. But anyway, all that to say, I will not be frogging this. I will be finishing this. I'm hoping to finish it before October, but if I don't finish it before October, certainly I will be finishing it promptly thereafter. So this is going in the finish pile. So I have two piles now. I have my Florencia in the frog pile and my Lanark in the finish pile. Oh, and before I move on from the Lanark, I should tell you, the cabin collection, don't forget, it's still available for pre-order. So as of today's filming, today is Monday, September 4th. I had to remember what month it was. Monday, September 4th. Happy Labor Day. The cabin collection is still open for pre-order. It's currently set to be open for another week and a half. So until Friday, September 15th. So if you're wanting to place a cabin collection order, you haven't missed the window. So you can grab a sweater quantity of carpet or any other color or just one skein, whatever you want. The point I'm trying to tell you is the cabin collection is still available for you to place your pre-order. So if you'd like to place an order, head over to cesiumyarn.com and have fun shopping. So put the Lanark in our finish pile. And now I'm just gonna go through this basket. So the rest is kind of full of project bags. So I have an idea of what's in here, but some of these things I haven't looked at in a long time. So we might kind of be surprised together. So the next thing in the basket is this project bag, and it's empty. So there's no project in there. In fact, I think I'll use this for my Lanark. That's perfect. Ta-da! All right, so no project to go through in here. I'll grab this next thing. This does have yarn in it. Before I unbag this, I'll tell you this is a linen bread bag from Amazon. These are great alternatives to like official project bags. They are drawstrings, so you can cinch them closed, and you could even decorate them if you wanted to. They're machine washable. So if you're wanting a cheap option for a project bag, check out linen bread bags on Amazon. They come in all sorts of different sizes, and you can get a variety pack. So there's an idea for you. Now let's open this up. Okay, so in here is a ranunculus, and this is with Cloudborne fibers. Their worsted weight base. So I purchased this from yarn.com or Webs a long time ago, like a couple years ago, I think. And this is the lavender heather color of Cloudborne worsted. The reason I bought it is because it was really affordable, but ultimately this was discontinued. So they had a huge markdown on this. And I think my sister and I got a lot of it for a very affordable price. And my sister Ellie since offloaded the rest of hers to me. So we traded some yarn, and I got her lavender heather Cloudborne worsted, and I'm making a oversized turtleneck ranunculus. I started this on on the plane or like surrounding the travel to Oregon in July for my sister's wedding. And I did mess up one of the lace rows, so I put it on hold. But I think that I'll finish this. I do know that I need to tink back, which is to take out, you know, knit backwards basically, a few lace repeats until I get to wherever my mistake was. But basically, I'm modeling this after the Galad Knits Ranunculus project page on Ravelry. I mentioned this in my cabin collection pattern ideas video because I was talking about making a version in penny pine cones or fixtures. And I will have two versions once I do that eventually, because I will have this purple one. So as Galad Knits mentions in their project page, they cast on an additional 40, or not, they didn't cast on, they knit an additional 40 rows to make the turtleneck. So that's just what I did. And then I'm knitting the yoke. And once I finish the yoke, I'll block it and measure my gauge so I can be sure to make a bit of an oversized fit. So that is gonna go in the finish pile. So far I have my Lanark and my purple ranunculus in my finish pile. Let's keep going. The next project bag in the pile is this project bag from Twice Sheared Sheep. This was part of their spring surprise box, and I really, really like this project bag. I had an issue last month in August with a different project bag with a zipper, which is actually a repurposed makeup bag. So the zipper is like here, the bag flaps over and the zipper opens like kind of on the side panel. And I had my yarn get caught in the zipper, and it caused a bit of stress for me. But I've never had a problem with this zipper. I don't know if it's because the zipper is on the top and there's not that crossover between the yarn in the bag and the side zipper. I'm not sure, but I haven't had any issue with this. And actually, I know this isn't like a project bag video, but I'll talk to you about this project bag. When I visited my sister and her family in April, we went to Dollywood, and I took the leather strap off of my Portland leather bag because I didn't want a big purse while we were walking around Dollywood. And I clipped it. I clipped one end of the strap on this little loop, and I clipped the other end on the loop of this zipper. And then I used this as my purse that day, and it worked great. So there's a little plug about Twice Sheared Sheep and the goodies they put in their surprise boxes. Now in here, there's a couple goodies. There are 4 skeins of that lavender Cloudborn worsted. So I must have caked this up thinking I would, I don't know, knit that oversized ranunculus in its entirety on that trip. Obviously that didn't happen, but these are for that project. So I'm just going to distribute where these live, and I'll put these in the project bag that actually has the ranunculus. So they'll all be together when I am ready to return to working on the ranunculus. And that will be good also because, knowing myself, if I sit down one day and think, I'm gonna work on my lavender ranunculus, and I open up the project bag that I know has the project in it, but no yarn, I will not remember where that yarn is. So now it's all in one spot, and that will be good. Okay, so now I have another empty project bag to put a different project in when I have one good to go. The other thing that was in that bag is this little yarn cozy that I cranked on my Dean & Bean sock machine. A month or so ago, I was kind of experimenting with my strategy for making a yarn cozy. And this one, I'm not sure if this is a full heel that I cranked, but I don't really like the shape for a yarn cozy. But basically the idea is you put your skein in here, and it acts as like kind of a compression sock for your skein. So as you work with the yarn and the yarn moves from your cake to your project and the cake shrinks, this keeps it from getting messy. So I'm gonna put this in a separate pile so I have handy for another project when I need it. Okay, so we have the Lanark, the Ranunculus in the finished pile, and we'll move on to this next project. This is at the top of my basket, and this is a project bag. Again, I didn't plan to talk about project bags, but we're just gonna. So this is a project bag that my good friend Kaylee made for me. Kaylee I met in college, but we were never really like close. Like, we had mutual friends, but we didn't, you know, hang out that much. But thanks to Instagram, like, we're each other's biggest cheerleaders now, so that's kind of cool. But all that to say, she made me this project bag. I need to use a crochet hook or something to fish out the other end of the drawstring because I pulled this side a little too tight. But it is a drawstring project bag, and inside there are pockets, or like compartments, so you could put your notions, or you could put your skeins of yarn around the perimeter. Wow, there's lots of goodies in here. Okay, so the project that's in this project bag that Kaylee made me is my Straya. This is the Straya, designed by Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits. The shape looks kind of rounded when I hold it up and show it to you, and that's because the last thing I did on this, oh, I see. So I'm working on the button band, and in the pattern it calls for, I think, a 1x1 ribbed button band, but I decided to do a double knit button band. And I think I stopped working on this for a bit because I realized that my gauge, my row gauge for the button band was a little too tight compared to the body of the sweater. So it's kind of like causing it to shrink or cinch up. So I think what I'm going to do is take out what I've done on this button band and then start it over with a larger needle. But that's the only thing, the button band and sleeves. Darby's having a bad dream or something and woofing behind the knitting chair. But yeah, I think that I will take out my progress on the button band and continue with the double knit button band, just with a larger needle. If that doesn't work and it still has that same problem, then I may just do the 1x1 ribbing that is called for in the pattern. But I really love the look of a double knit button band, so I hope that I can get it to work. But yes, the double knit button band and the sleeves are all that remain for this whip, and I'm definitely going to finish it. And in fact, I really want to finish it because I have two fall tonal mini sets from Sorrel that I haven't touched, I haven't wound or knit with, and I also have, I think, 4 more skeins of cardigan, which is the main color I'm using on this sweater. And like I talked about in my September goals video, I want to destash basically anything that's not nailed down. So I want to finish this whip, if for no other reason than to know what yarn I have left, because I don't want to destash a mini set and then need it to finish this sweater. And equally, I don't want to destash those skeins of cardigan and then find out that I don't have enough to finish. So that is going in the finish pile. And in addition to the whip that's in there, I have a full wound cake of cardigan. I have a mini of cardigan, I think. And then all the fall tonal minis caked up in here. So this is definitely going in the finish pile. Plus, I'm so close to being done. Well, not really so close, but I have everything but the button band and the sleeves. That's just 3 things, right? So this is definitely going to go in the finish pile. And I think maybe I'll try to finish this before Christmas, because this was actually the project that I cast on last year on Christmas Day. This was my Christmas cast on, which I don't know if I've ever done before, or maybe I have and I just never took a mental note of it. But I think it's a really sweet tradition. So I think I'm gonna aim to finish this by Christmas so I can say I knit it in a year or less. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's going in the finish pile. So far there are 3 whips in the finish pile, 1 in the frog pile, but technically it's still in the finish pile because after I frog the Florencia, I'm gonna knit it again. So whatever. That is what it is. Okay, we are continuing on. The next item in my whip pile is a whip that I have loved working on, and I don't know why I haven't been working on it. I guess because I just had some deadline knits close together. The Florencia tee, I had a sample knit for Treehouse Knits that I finished and sent off, so this has kind of been on the back burner, but this is the Field Day cardigan by Ozetta, and I'm knitting it up in Treehouse Knits, her Rory colorway from the Favorites collection. It is so gorgeous. This yarn has this lilac, greens, pinks, browns, creams. It's really gorgeous. In my mind, I think of it as like camouflage for Stars Hollow. Like if I were walking around the main street of Stars Hollow, no one would be able to see me because it's just perfect Stars Hollow colors. But this is where I'm at on the field day right now. I have the right panel complete. I'm almost done, or maybe halfway done with the left panel. I think the next step is to join the back panel with these 2 front panels. But this has been on hiatus while I work on other projects. But this is definitely getting finished. And then in the rest of the bag is Cakes of Rory. This is definitely going in the finish pile because it's just it's gonna be the most beautiful garment, I think. Let me gather up all this yarn. I'm really excited for this to be in my wardrobe. I think it's going to be a wardrobe staple. I've never knit the Field Day cardigan before, nor have I knit an Ozetta pattern. So I'm hoping that there are no issues. It seems like people really love this pattern. So I hope that that's true for me too, because I would hate to have to frog this and use the yarn for something else, because I just want to be able to wear it as soon as possible. It's so beautiful. But that's going in the finish pile. The next item in my whip basket is not a whip, and I don't know why it's in there. It's a sweater. This is a sweater I wear all the time. I must have just not put it away correctly last time I wore it. But this is the throwback sweater by Andrea Mowry. I need to knit another one actually, because this one is a bit oversized and I want like a more fitted cardigan for teaching and stuff, whereas this is great to like throw on, I don't know, if I just want to be comfy cozy. I wear it a lot when I travel. It's like one of my go-to airplane cardigans because I really get cold on the plane most often. So anyway, it's not even a whip, so why are we even talking about it? Get out of here. All right, let's get back to business here. The next project bag I have, I don't really know what's in here. Okay, so this was something I cast on like 6 months ago, thinking I'll wear this in Ireland. Guess what? Not gonna happen. Could be, maybe still, I don't know. Nope, not gonna be. This is the Deep Winter Hat by Wool and Pine Designs. Can't you tell? Like, you can just look at this and know exactly what it is. Not, I only got through the ribbing. And then the next thing you do is like cables or something. Yeah, cables for this hat. But that just simply didn't happen. You know what I could do? I could take this with me to be an Ireland project. Let me think about that. Let me listen to my heart on that one. I'm just not sure. Am I a navy blue person? Will that look good? I don't know. I'm just not sure. So because I'm not sure, I'm going to put this in the frog pile, and I'll tell you why. Because I've only done the ribbing, and if I wanted to do this pattern, I could just start it over, okay? So that's just what I'm gonna do. I think it will be better for my mental health to not have a standing whip and rather have a cake of yarn that I do not need to worry about presently. So this is going in the frog pile. In fact, let me take it out of the project bag so I can use the project bag for something else. So now I have 2 empty project bags I can fill at my leisure. I have 4 projects in the finish pile, and we'll keep going with this mystery bag. This is another linen bread bag from Amazon. That's where my row counter is. I have so many row counters, and sometimes I want to use a specific one. Like I've been wanting to use this cute little bee. Couldn't find it. It was on a project. What do you know? Okay, so this is the Summer Sorrel by Wool and Pine Designs, and I'm just untangling the working yarn from the row counter here. This is knit with a really pretty dip stitch pattern. So the dip stitch kind of makes up the yoke of the pattern, and then once you get through the yoke, it's, I think, reverse stockinette, so you knit it on the wrong side. I don't know, I need to look at the pattern. But anyway, from the onlooker's perspective, it's just purling all the way down, so it makes a nice little wrong side of stockinette stitch look. That's whatever, you get what I'm saying. It looks like purl bumps all the way down. So here's the deal. I do remember really enjoying the process of knitting this. But also, I was knitting this, like I think I cast this on in January. And I have to tell you that January through March was a very dark time for me. It was a very dark time. Like I didn't know up from down, left from right, side to side, whatever. I was totally just absorbed in my dissertation. I barely saw DJ, I barely ate, I barely slept. It was horrible. It was horrible. And during that time, I would sometimes knit on my summer sorrel. So I just don't know. Like, do I want this memory? Or if I finish this, will it be like a testament to my triumph? Because I survived my PhD. One day I'll stop talking about how awful it was. I'm so grateful to have gone through it. I'm incredibly privileged to have gone through it. I had a hugely supportive support system, but it also sucked in a lot of ways. So, do I want to finish this? Do I want to frog this? Ugh, decisions. Here's the deal. If I frog this, I'm going to reset the yarn and destash it because I would want it out of my house. But if I finish it, am I gonna wear it? I don't know. I think it would be cute over a dress. I'm not gonna decide. You tell me what you think I should do with this one, because this is too much pressure. Because it would be a lot of work to finish it. I'm not afraid of hard work, but it would also be a lot of work to frog it because I would have to reset all this yarn. So yes, you tell me what you think. Would you finish this or would you frog it? I think it's really pretty. And this yarn, I will tell you, I purchased at Smoky Mountain Spinnery, which is a local yarn store in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I purchased it on a trip when I was there with my sisters. So it's kind of like souvenir skeins. I think all of these reasons are telling me I just simply can't frog it. I must enjoy it, but also I know that at some point on here I messed up one of the dip stitches, so I'm trying to find where in the heck that is. Anyway, not important right now. So I'm not going to decide on this one. you tell me what you would do, and maybe I'll let you know in the next whip assessment video if it's still here. So I guess that means I'm not frogging it yet, if at all, but I don't know if I'm committing to finish it either. So this is going to go in the maybe pile. All right, moving right along. The next thing in the basket is a bunch of crap. So these yarn scraps, I don't know why they're in the basket, but I'm just going to roll them between my hands, and I'm going to add them to my pile of yarn scraps that I'm taking with me to Ireland to cash in for a discount code at Hedgehog Fibers. We're going to their yarn studio and yarn shop, and they have a recycle program where you can send them in your yarn scraps, and depending on the weight of your yarn scraps, you can get a 10%, 20%, or 30% off discount code. And I asked the people at Hedgehog Fibers if my Irish knitting tour group could bring scraps in to use when we shop there in person, and they said yes. So I'm bringing a bunch of scraps. That's the plan. Because I never did it. I'm not going to buy postage to send yarn scraps to Ireland so I can get 30% off to purchase yarn that will be shipped to me from Ireland. I realize in the grand scheme of things, that is way more affordable than actually going to Ireland and doing it in person. But since I'll already be there, you know, I'm going to bring some scraps with me. So, all that to say, I don't know what those yarn scraps are doing in my whip basket, but now they are bound for Ireland. So there you go. Okay, keeping on with the whip assessment, this is the next linen bread bag, and it has my great gingham. Where did that go? All right. So this is my great gingham. This is a pullover designed by Jessie Maid, and it is knit in a color work gingham pattern. Now, I will say mine is low contrast, so it may be a little tricky to see the gingham pattern in some sections. Some sections it's much more apparent than others just because of the nature of the low contrast. So I'm knitting this in Arcane Fiberworks. They gifted me a ton of yarn. This is dark blue, and this is Blessed Bluebird. So the colors in Blessed Bluebird, there are flashes that match exactly the color of dark blue. So that's why in this low contrast, there are some sections where you can't really tell which strand is which, and that's okay with me. This is kind of reminiscent to me of the Bath and Body Works bags, the Bath and Body Works shopping bags, if they were like fall harvest themed. So I'm calling this my fall harvest Bath and Body Works great gingham. And basically the construction of this pattern is you knit the body and the sleeves separately, and then once you get to the underarm, you join them together, and then you knit the yoke. So I have knit the body but not the sleeves because, as I've mentioned, the low contrast is kind of a trip for my brain. Even though I have the main color on one loop of my Norwegian knitting thimble at all times and the contrast color on the other loop of my Norwegian knitting thimble, it still messes with my brain to figure out which strand I should be pulling from at any given time, just because of, again, the nature of this low contrast. So I do want to finish this, but my brain is not ready to do that. So this is going to stay in timeout. This has one of my favorite row counters on it also. Little raccoon row counter. This was from their Advent box in 2023. So not only is this a whip assessment video, but it's also a surprise project bag video and a surprise twice sheared sheep video, because if you haven't tried their row counters specifically, this tip tie is also from Twice Sheared Sheep. But basically their notions are a real treat. I really enjoy using them. I'm an ambassador for them, but also I basically use a notion from Twice Sheared Sheep on every project because they're so helpful and they really make the process a little bit more streamlined and helps my brain focus on the parts that I want to enjoy about the knitting process versus the parts that are not as enjoyable, such as counting or worrying about if my stitches are going to be secure. So really enjoy using Twice Sheared Sheep, and this project is going to go in the finish pile. I'm really excited for the day that project is finished because I have several skeins of the dark blue and the Judgy Bluebird on my yarn wall, and it will feel really good to have those knit up and be able to give my yarn wall a new look, because those have been on there for a while and I always feel a little guilty when skeins have been on there for a long time because they should be knit up. And also, once I finish the project, I will know how many skeins I have left over and I can give that to someone else to enjoy. All right, the next item in the whip basket is a project bag. Again, this is a project bag from Beachy Breeze Fibers, and it's empty. There's nothing in here. So this can be, well, I shouldn't say it's empty. It has a block of cedar wood. I know this is like contentious. Like some people will swear by this and other people will say, that doesn't work. Stop spreading the myth of cedar and lavender. Well, whatever. There's this block of cedar wood in my project bag. So there is that project bag ready to be filled when I have a project to put it in. So I have 3 empty bags so far, 2 projects to frog. So this is a replacement part for my Dean & Bean sock machine. Over the summer, I was cranking a lot of socks and it was putting some wear and tear on my machine. Totally understandable. That's what the machine is for. But I did notice the cranking part, like the cranking wheel of the machine, was getting a lot of wear, and I just wanted to have a replacement handy for when that does ultimately have too much wear and tear to continue. And then I got a few other pieces to have handy as well. So the nice thing about Dean & Beans is, since it's 3D printed, well, I don't know if that's why, but on their website you can buy a lot of pieces for your machine in case some pieces need to be replaced throughout the lifetime of your sock machine. So not necessarily a whip. I'll put these in my Dean & Bean like box of supplies. We're getting close to the bottom of the whip basket, and this is the, what was this? The outline tee? I'm not sure. But this was another Jessie made design that I initially was knitting up this yarn that I'm using for the spring sorrel. And I should have said that yarn is knitted wit, which is hand dyed in Portland, Oregon, my hometown. And it's part of the National Park colorway collection. And I don't remember what colorway this is. I think agate something. But anyway, I initially cast this on to be an outline tee, and I cast on for a size that was far too large. I would never wear this just because I am learning more about the kind of ease I'd want on my body, and I would not be comfortable in this. So then I would never reach for it. So I used this as my gauge, and I found a pattern that used the same size needles, and the spring sorrel did. So I used this as my gauge swatch. Pretty massive gauge swatch, don't you think? And then I use that to determine what size of the spring sorrel to make. So this will definitely be frogged once I get to kneading this yarn, if I continue with the spring sorrel. So maybe I just confirmed that I'm going to not frog it, because why would I have that in my mind if I wasn't going to finish it? Mines are wild. They just keep secrets from you, and then they tell you the answer when you least expect it. But yeah, I will frog this at some point and reset this yarn so it's not crinkly. And I'll do that by steaming it. And I'll use that for my spring sorrel. All right. At the underneath that in the whip basket is just some scrap of the knitted whip yarn. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to just quickly hand wind it into a little ball. Actually, no, there's a knot. I'm just going to set it aside. I'm not going to put it in my yarn scrap pile because maybe one day I will need this to finish the sorrel. There we go again. I guess I'm finishing the sorrel. But if I finish the sorrel and I find that this was extra and I didn't need it, then it can go in my scrap pile, which by that time will have been depleted in Ireland. And so this will probably go towards my new scrap pile. The next whip that I have is these things. So anyway, last summer, my husband said he wanted a teddy bear to snuggle up with. Isn't that so sweet? And I said, yes, of course, I will make you a teddy bear. And so then I made him all the body parts of a teddy bear, and that's where the story ends. So, oh my gosh, I need to finish this. Maybe I can finish this in time for Christmas. Man, don't tell him. He watches these anyway, so it's not a secret, so whatever. But yeah, this is a teddy bear pattern. I don't remember the name of it. I'll look it up and put it on the screen. But every single component of this teddy bear is knit flat. Why? Why do we hate ourselves? I don't know. But I need to seam all of these individual parts of this teddy bear and then assemble it. Yeah, so that's a finish. Also, this is knit in 2 strands of Red Door Fiber Studio. I don't remember if it's just fingering weight or if it's sock weight, meaning I don't remember if it's 100% wool or if there's nylon in it as well. But this is from 2 colorways from her Twilight collection. So like a blue variegated and then a blue gray tonal. So I held those double to make a DK-ish weight little bear for my husband. So that is gonna be finished. It simply must be finished. There's just no 2 ways about it. All right, and then we are at the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, the bottom of the whip basket, and at the bottom is a hat. This is a great gingham hat, also designed by Jessie Maid. And this is the same pattern as the great gingham sweater, or I should say the same color work pattern. And basically I used this as my swatch. So I knit the great gingham hat with the dark blue and blessed bluebird skeins from Arcane Fiberworks. I measured my gauge and then I determined what size to cast on for the great gingham sweater. So I think that's really handy when designers do that. Jessie Maid has done that with the great gingham. There was one other pattern that came to mind, but now it's out of my brain. Wool and Pine Designs has done that with the sea glass fingering weight version. Drea Renee Knits has done that with the Straya. So if you're looking at a sweater pattern and you're like not sure what size to make and you hate making a swatch, maybe make a swatch and turn it into a hat, because then you have the satisfaction of not only gauge swatching, but also the satisfaction of having a finished object. So this is not a whip. This is a finished object. And it gives you an idea of what that colorwork pattern is going to look like all done. This was also my first attempt with not carrying my floats with colorwork, and I think it did a pretty good job. It got sloppy around the crown decreases, but I was proud of that. And now I don't really carry my floats anymore. I'm unstoppable. Yeah. And then let's see, what other whips do I have? I think that must be it. So then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's so many whips. 7 whips. And guess what? I'm not frogging any of them except the Florencia, but even that barely counts because I'm just going to knit it again. What's wrong with me? I don't know. Oh, I have one more, not finished object, one more whip to show you, and that's what I'm wearing. So this is the sheep camp. I finally cast it off again, and it's technically a finished object now, except I do need to weave in this one end, but I'll tell you, I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure I like the length. I kind of want to crop it still. So the story is, I knit this, I lost yarn chicken, I waited for more yarn, I got more yarn, I knit the length recommended, it was too short, the neckline was too gaping, I picked up the neckline, picked up neckline stitches around the bottom of the original neckline is still in there, it was still too gaping, so I sewed 2 rounds of elastic around the new neckline. Now it's perfect, but it's also too long because after I decided it was too cropped, I added length, and I'm just not used to this amount of ease on my body. I like things a bit tighter, can you believe it? And it's just so long. So I told myself that I would wear this over jeans to see if I liked it and see what I thought, because it's long enough to wear with pants. And sometimes I do like wearing my knits with jeans or slacks or whatever. But most of the time, I wear my knits over dresses, so the cropped kind of empire waist is usually what I go for. So this is obviously not that. So this might still be a whip, even though it's also a finished object. We'll see. I'm gonna give it a chance at the current length, but I reserve the right to change my mind at any time, as do you. So don't hold yourself to something that you decided or you thought beforehand, whether that is with your knitting or crocheting or any part of your life, okay? As long as you're not like hurting somebody else, you know? Anyway, okay, so that's what I think. So that's the story. Those are my whips. At the end of the day, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 whips. That's a lot of whips. I don't want that many whips. So, oh, and I'm gonna have 8 this week because I'm gonna cast on my mom's zig. So really 8 whips. Woof, that's a lot. But it is what it is. Just have to deal with it and get it done, and that's okay. I think maybe if in 6 months' time I revisit this whip assessment and I still have all the same whips, then the answers might change. I might be ready to frog some things. But right now, I'm just not there. It's just where it is. So, yeah. That's all I have for you today. Thanks for being here, whether you're a longtime subscriber or a new face. I'm really glad that you're here and thankful that you take the time out of your day to watch. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you don't already, and if you want to be notified of my next upload, hit that notification bell. Last but not least, head over to Instagram and follow me at Rachel is Knitting if you don't already. Okay, bye. See you next time.